Officers were dispatched to a call for service where the suspect had fled the scene. Additional Plymouth police officers were dispatched to assist, including K-9 Officer Keith Larson. Officer Larson pulled into a parking lot in the area of 179 Court Street to prepare his K-9 Nico for the call. Officer Larson was bitten by Nico during this interaction. After several attempts to disengage Nico, Officer Larson was forced to utilize his service weapon. Unfortunately, Nico died at the scene. Several officers were, as well as Brewster ambulance personnel, were dispatched to assist Officer Larson. Officer Larson was transported to South Shore Hospital to be treated for injuries to both his hands. Officer Larson is a 17-year veteran of the Plymouth Police Department with an exemplary record. He's been assigned to the K-9 unit since March of 2017. He's been assigned to Nico since August of 2019. Officer Larson received a bite to his hand while deploying Nico in April of 2020. Officer Larson and Nico were reassigned to the Sheriff's Department K-9 Academy and recertified for service in July of 2020. Take any questions?
How's Officer Larson doing?
We just heard he's doing pretty well. He's getting the best care up at South Shore Hospital, and we're still hopeful that he's released tonight. So that's what we're hopeful for.
Sorry. Chief, can you tell us what the scene was like? Were there other people there that could have potentially been hurt?
Didn't seem like it. It was the middle of a parking lot. I think most of you went down there. He was well away from any people. It happened near his cruiser. I don't think it lasted more than, I'm guessing, 30 to 45 seconds, which is a long time that he had to, to go through that. And as I'm sure you realize, it's difficult for an officer, K-9 officer, to dispatch their own dog like that. So.
Can you talk about the emotional impact not only on Officer Larson but on the department when something like this happens?
Yeah, it's always difficult to see any of your officers injured, So, yeah, we feel bad about that.
And Officer Larson, where was he injured? It sounds like he was hand.
Yeah, both of his hands received injuries, and like I said, they're being treated right now.
After the bite in April of 2020, was there training? What's the process? What's the procedure in a situation like that when Nico had bitten him before?
Yeah, we have him evaluated by the K-9 Academy. They decide if the dog is deployable, and they take both the officer and the K-9 back to the academy for a period of time, and they make a decision whether they certify them for service. And they were both certified for service and back in service somewhere between July and August of 2020.
Did he ever say anything to you about Nico's doing great? Oh, gee, I'm still a little. I mean, anything?
There'd been no issues since then, no. And the report we got from the Sheriff's Department is they were working as a team very well, and there were no issues.
How long had Nico been in service for? Was that starting in 2019?
Yeah, Nico, Officer Larson got Nico in April of 2019.
Was he under any officer before that?
No, new K-9.
How many dogs did Officer Larson have as a K-9 officer?
He had one prior. He had been a K-9 officer about 3.5 years. He had a K-9 named Felix.
No issue with Felix?
No, we lost Felix to cancer and had him put down a few months ago, several months, somewhere around April 19 when he was given Nico.
Chief, I understand you brought back the K-9 unit after it had been disbanded several years here in Plymouth. Are you still confident that this is a good crime-fighting tool?
Yeah, absolutely. This is just an isolated incident. If you talk to K-9 handlers, you'll find out that they do get bitten. It does happen. It's an animal, but not to this degree. So, but no, we're still confident in the unit. Absolutely. Thanks.
Sounds like the dog may have gotten confused or something. Did he have any sense of what may have triggered?
Yeah, I just don't know. We're going to talk to the trainers at the academy and see if they can try to figure out what went wrong. And I'm not prepared to put fault anywhere. This happens. It's an animal. Like I say, Officer Larson's an exemplary officer, and we have a lot of faith in him.
What's the relationship like between K-9 and handler? Do they live together? What's the extent of how much time do they spend together?
Yeah, the dogs are taken home. They have take-home cruises. They have kennels put in their yard. The dogs spend most of the time in the kennels, but they're with them 24 hours. We call them in. They bring the K-9 with them. So it takes a special person, obviously an animal lover, to take that type of a responsibility from the department. And he was happy he did it, and I know he enjoyed doing it, and still will.
You have to explain a little bit about the call, the initial call. Is it somebody?
Well, the initial call was in a separate part of town, really unrelated, basically just a subject running from a scene. So we requested other personnel, including the air wing from the state police and sheriff's department, had a K-9 to assist, and Officer Larson was on duty and sent to assist with the track.
So is he outside of his cruiser at the moment, or did the initial?
I don't know for a fact, but my assumption is to prepare the dog, you open the cruiser and interact with the dog. So something happened at that interaction.
But he was gonna search the Benny's area?
No, it wasn't nowhere near Benny's. He just pulled in there to prepare the dog,
Oh, gotcha.
and he was going to deploy several miles away. I mean, not several, quite a ways away to the call. Apparently, that's part of the training.
So when you say prepare the dog, so that would be a normal procedure to get?
I'm being
the dog
told, yeah.
stopped and-
Well, the dog in the vehicle might not have his vest on, his tracker on, so when they get the call, it's routine for them, I'm being told, through training to prepare the dog. So the dog's not vested up all day and not have a call. So they take a minute or 2 or 3 to do that.
So it's not like he stopped, hey, I need to calm Nico down, something's going on?
No, not at all, no.
Just a normal
He was
routine.
preparing for that call of service.
Gotcha.
So then he would continue driving after the dog was prepared, and then.
Yeah, and then when he got there, the dog was prepared. So you're not at the scene trying to prepare the dog while maybe there's a subject at large. So that's, I'm being told, and I basically just learned that today, that that's the standard protocol for K-9.
What kind of dog is it?
German Shepherd.
And did Nico have any claims to fame as far as big cases that he had solved or helped with? Or?
Not to come to mind. I mean, he's a great K-9 for us, and like I say, just a couple of mishaps. But other than that, I know he was involved in quite a few tracks and those type of things.
So his job was always to try to help find people or things or.
Yeah, mainly a tracking dog, but he's a patrol dog.
You mentioned that this does happen from time to time. Do you have any sense of how rare these kinds of?
Well, I don't believe it happens to this extent, but as far as getting bitten by the animal, I'm being told that that happens during training and during, engagement when you're working with a dog, that it does happen, but not to this extent, obviously.
Was Nico trained originally at Plymouth County?
Yes,
Okay, so he just went back.
went back to the same. They went back as a team, and they certified them as a team. It's basically not just the dog's good, and they make sure that as a team they're serviceable. And then they returned him to service somewhere in July or August of 2020, this year.
Was the first bite similar with preparing the dog?
He was preparing to deploy the dog out of the vehicle that time. This time he was preparing, very similar, interaction at the door. Yes.
You have one other K-9 unit, is that right?
We have a drug K-9, Max, Officer Walsh and Max.
Will that unit continue operating as normal?
Absolutely.
And how old was the dog?
The dog we got the dog in April of 19. I believe it was somewhere around 2 at that time, so 3 to 4, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm just summarizing.
Nico didn't go after any of the other officers?
No, there was no one else there.
Oh, so it was that?
Yeah, there was no one else there.
Isolated.
Yeah, it was right in the middle of the parking lot where you guys went down to. It all happened around the cruiser. There were no people around. There was nothing.
Did someone make a 911 call, or who called?
Officer Larson called it in himself that he had been bitten by the dog, needed assistance.
It's not like anything was caught on video? Or?
I don't believe so. I believe there's video of the aftermath when officers arrived, but not the actual scene itself, incident itself. Anything else?
Thank you, Chief.
Appreciate it, Chief.
Thanks, guys.